Now, game week 25 in FPL already feels like one to forget. So here we are with the preview of game week 26 to make you forget all about it. So as usual with this game week preview series of mine, we've got the top players for expected points by position. Starting off with the goalkeepers and defenders. And top of the list for goalkeepers this week, we've got Kepa, followed by Ramsdale, Raya, Sanchez, Keylor Navas, interestingly, for Nottingham Forest. And then you can see the rest of the list there. As for defenders, top of the list this week is Zinchenko from Arsenal. I think he's a really exciting asset for Arsenal. Definitely playing the most advanced, in my opinion, of all the Arsenal defenders. And he seems to be completely nailed. I don't really think Kieran Tierney's got a spot or even a chance for spot in that starting 11 at the moment. Interestingly, Reece James comes in second. He's definitely got the upside about him, but is he going to start? I think Potter has definitely annoyed pretty much every FPL manager already this season. And yeah, just whether you want to risk it with Reece James, I guess. And then Saliba, Gabriel White. Basically, the list is dominated by Arsenal and Chelsea defenders with a bit of Brighton and Man City mixed in. And you can see all of the players listed for your own viewing. Next up, we've got the midfielders, and based on his current form, he's probably one of the best players in the world at the moment. So top in the list with his fixture against Liverpool is Marcus Rashford. Saka in second, again, I think arguably on a level with Rashford in terms of performances, so no surprise to see him in second. Odegaard in third, followed by De Bruyne, Martinelli, Salah, Grealish, Fernandes, Foden, Mitoma, and Gakpo. So I think you'll see on the strikers the rest of the expected points, but yet again I think Marcus Rashford is a reasonable captaincy shout for game week 26. On to the forwards now, and obviously it's the same every week with this guy. Erling Haaland, way top of the list, 7.8 expected points, over 2 ahead of Kane, the next best forward, followed by Ivan Toney. I think basically the 3 players you see at the top of the list there are, in my opinion, the 3 best forwards in FPL at the moment. And you can see the rest of the players listed there. And now moving on to the goal scoring odds and goal involvement odds. Again, he's top of expected points and he's top of the goal scoring and goal involvement odds. Erling Haaland, 65% chance of scoring this weekend and then a 72% chance of being involved in a goal. The one thing with this list is that it doesn't take into account expected minutes. So there may be players mixed in here that don't necessarily start for their team on a trustworthy basis, likes of Julian Alvarez and Fofana from Chelsea being examples of that. And Mitrovic as well for Fulham. It's difficult to back him starting at the moment. The manager's not given too much away about him, which obviously he's got every right to. He's probably his best player, so keeping things under wrap with his injury status. But yeah, really these figures reflect the expected points. So the top midfielders and strikers for expected points are towards the top of this list. And then moving on to the clean sheet odds, again reflective of the expected points for goalkeepers and defenders. Top of the list for clean sheets is Arsenal, followed by Man City, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Brighton, Brentford, Forest, Everton, Tottenham. I'd like to think anything below 30% is really tricky to back a clean sheet from. And to be honest, I think most of these things stand true with these teams. I think, yeah, most of these teams under 30% here are likely to concede. But any of the defences you see there above 30-ish%, I suggest are likely to, well, you can reasonably expect them to keep a clean sheet. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed in this game, but yeah, hopefully this is useful for you to select your defensive options. And here's my team after what is quite a poor game week 25 so far. Tripled up on Liverpool, and Darwin and Salah have so far failed to deliver. Although I will take my Trent Alexander-Arnold clean sheet right to the bank. I'm 456k at the moment, which is definitely not ideal. And this is how my team is lining up. My chip strategy, and I'll go through the ideal chip strategy in my opinion in just a second, but I'm going to be playing my wildcard either in game week 26 or 27 to maximise my team for the upcoming doubles and blanks. So I've got Kepa in goal, currently thinking of playing Trent, White, Shaw, Trippier, Salah, Odegaard, Saka, Rashford, Darwin and Haaland. Not too keen on my defence this week with Man United and Liverpool both playing each other. I think they're likely to score. Both teams likely to score, that is, and Trippier's got Man City, so I also think they're going to concede in that game. It's a really tricky one this week to select an 11 that I'm happy with, and to be honest, given the situation of things, I'm almost tempted to wildcard my team in 26. Because of the doubles and blanks you've got coming up, I think you can use your chips in a sensible way to mitigate all the detriment of the blanks and maximise what you get from the doubles, etc. And I'm just not happy with how this team is looking going into game week 26. And I think a wildcard could be an opportune moment to change things around and make my team ideal. Don't get me wrong, it could be a lot worse. I can field a starting 11 and my player picks aren't too bad. But I just think the fixtures aren't necessarily favourable for a lot of these guys. And I could well end up playing my wildcard chip. And speaking of chips, I hope you like my little graphic there. Big Sam ordering his chips in the fish and chip shop. But I think the ideal one is to play that wild card in 27. Or maybe you could play it a little bit earlier now in 26. I don't think that's too bad an option. You set yourself up for that double game week in 27, and you'll hear more about that coming up. Free hit in game week 28, where there's expected to be some big blanks. So you can maximise the points you get from that week. With most of the popular picks, I would suggest in FPL likely to blank in game week 28. And then you can hit the bench boost button in game week 29 following the international break and maximise the points you get from the double game week players, because 12 teams in total are going to double game week in 29. And speaking of these doubles and blanks, we've got a double game week coming up in 27 for Brighton, Brentford, Crystal Palace and Southampton. And really, in my mind, all of my transfers over the next couple of weeks, including what may be a wild card, is looking to set my team up with fully fledged Brighton and Brentford assets. I think I'm going to try and triple up on both teams if I can. And you'll see why I'm looking to play my free hit in 28 in a second. But I think Crystal Palace and Southampton, they don't excite me too much with these fixtures. Palace in particular, Brighton is their real derby, and that's always quite a nail-biting, edgy game. And then they've got Man City as their other fixture, which makes me think there's little value to be had in those Palace assets. And as for Southampton, they're not looking too great. They've got Brentford, which is a tough fixture in itself, and then Man United away, which is also a tough fixture against a team in really good form. The two teams, in my opinion, to go for, and they're both good teams in their own right, is Brighton and Brentford. They've got genuine, pickable FPL assets and two really nice fixtures each. And then game week 28, it unfortunately revolves around results in the FA Cup that we simply don't know yet because the games haven't happened. This video is going to go up on Monday with FA Cup games happening, I believe, on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we have to simply wait for the results of those to come in order to determine which fixtures are going to blank. But you can see on this table, kindly created by Ben Krellin. Please visit his Twitter account. I'm not going to take any credit for this graphic at all. But what he's done is combined the blank game week odds with result odds, basically, in the FA Cup, with lots of Premier League teams playing teams from lower divisions. It's quite easy to foresee blank game weeks coming up in 28 for the likes of Southampton, Tottenham, Man City, West Ham, Brighton and Man United. And Brentford and Leicester as well, looking like they're going to blank in 28. Two teams I just mentioned previously being Brentford and Brighton with their double in 27. Blanking in 28 means I think it's a good idea to play your free hit in that week if you have it. And then in 29, we've got the biggest double game week that's expected of the entire season. 12 teams in total are going to double, and you can see them all here. So we've got Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, Forest and West Ham. So in my opinion, picking players from these teams in your wild card before 29, bench boost yourself in 29, where you can have a full squad of 11 plus your bench that all double. You hit the bench boost and you get absolute maximum points from all your players. The one sort of risk around that, there is an international break between game week 28 and 29, where obviously anything can happen in an international break. And maybe sometimes players that have gone far away from England to play their international games might not be back in time. It's a bit of a risk, but I still don't foresee a better option of which to play your wildcard or bench boost chip to get yourself ready for 29. And you can see all the fixtures that are going to double there. And we also have a potential blank game week in 32. Now, for me, this is another opportunity where you could use that free hit chip, but there is simply just not enough known about it at this stage. It basically requires 2 rounds of the FA Cup to be played out before we know which teams are going to blank, which for me is so uncertain at the moment. And to be honest, I think game week 28 is probably the time to do it when it's a bit more certain, given that we can also get through game week 29 on the wild card. That's where I'm heading at the moment. And you can see the teams there that are likely to blank in 32. But again, Ben has done this based on odds of results and teams winning. And it requires 2 games of the FA Cup to be played out before we know what's going to happen. So Brighton, Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle, Tottenham, Fulham, Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Arsenal, Southampton, Bournemouth, West Ham, all looking like they could have a chance of blanking. For me, we just simply don't know what's going to happen in 32. The one thing I would say, though, is I would suggest the blanks in 32 cover more popular teams in FPL than 28. I mean, all of the big six are looking like a blank, apart from Liverpool, basically, if you can even count them as the big six anymore. So, yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on for Game Week 32. And hopefully that helps you with the fixtures. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that little Game Week 26 preview there and gets you excited and forgetting about what has been a pretty abysmal game week, I think, for most of us in 25. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like rating, subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, and I'll be back again this week with another FPL video. See you in the next one.